Hello, welcome to my channel. This is Siobhan Bixel, and I am here to discuss some very interesting and fascinating things that have captured my interest and have been just spinning around in my head. Today's point of interest and topic is a group that I had never heard of called the King's Daughters. A secret society? Looks like it might be. There's some intrigue. There's some orphan trains. There's some hospitalers. There's some salon. It sounds like millionaire, but with a salon. Salonaire. I never heard of it. But I'm going to explain to you what it means and what it's about and how this affects other truth seekers like myself who are delving deep into the rabbit holes, asking the questions why, right, White Rabbit, have we been lied to? Why do we not know our own history? My name again is Siobhan Bixel, and I'm here for you to do some research, to dig beneath the streets and find out what really is going on. If we can find out, maybe the veil's lifting. Maybe it's time that the truth comes out. What's hidden will only be hidden for so long. Everything comes to the light. I want you to know that this is a safe place to dive deep into the rabbit holes and question the historical narratives. Have we been programmed into believing stories without question? It seems that a small group and this little community is finally waking up and asking what in the world is going on. And I'm one of them. Please let me know in the comment box what points of interest you would like me to research. Today I'm doing with a group called the King's Daughters. The King's Daughters. Sounds interesting. Now, this is a group that was formed in 1886 and is still actually active to this present day. It was a group that was founded by Margaret Bottoms in New York City. Basically, this was a socialite type of group that were doing charitable acts. They called themselves a third alternative for those who do not go to church and still want to feel good about themselves and do some kind acts. So they got involved mainly in the hospital service, having fundraisers and that type of thing. There's one famous picture of them in front of a home for incurables, and two of the ladies are holding signs that are asking for $100,000, and at that time that must have been like $1 million. We're talking about 1886, 1890, 1900. Well, this group was formed, as I was saying, by a lady named Margaret Bottoms. Her maiden name was MacDonald. She was of Scottish heritage, and that'll come into play in just a minute. She, was born on December 29th, 1827, and she passed away in 1906 on November 14th. And what was curious is I started this little investigation and research into this group on November 14th. I'd never heard of this group before. It was really chasing another rabbit trail on another story I'm investigating on Stonewall Jackson Juvenile Detention Center, the first juvenile prison basically in North Carolina. When was it built? 1906. Okay, so we're right in the time group of what's known as the orphan trains. It looked like in a 30 to 50 year period, 500,000 little children, babies, and homeless kids were transported across the United States for some unknown reason. Where did all these kids come from? Were they all orphans? Were people being duped into possibly giving up their children with the hopes of seeing them again? The stories are lost. The children were told your life begins when you step off the train. You forget your past, you get a new name, you get a new religion. Many of these children were from Irish immigrants, Catholics, and the powers that be did not want Catholicism spreading apparently, and wanted these children placed mainly in the homes of good Protestant people. They put ads out for these kids and called them little laborers. Get your little laborers, buy them. It basically sounds like something else our history knew, slavery. These kids were sent as indentured servants to these little families out west and repopulated the west. And I say repopulated. Was it populated before? It looks like it was. There is a history we don't know about people, a history in America that we've been lied about. It's not the cowboy rootin' tootin' kind of west that we were raised by Hollywood to believe it was. Apparently, there's some really crazy architecture and ancient finds, ruins, and Egyptian type of hieroglyphics and you know temples, temples in the Grand Canyon, the Temple of Isis, and other such phenomena that we're just now discovering. It's been there, just nobody ever questioned this stuff, and it's like one by one, people are just waking up, and maybe we all can't see the whole picture. Maybe none of us can, but maybe I can see a little bit of piece, and maybe you can see a different piece, and together we can see a little bit more. And I watch and read and delve into information like a mad woman lately. I'm hungry. I'm hungry to know what's going on in this America of ours. I want to welcome you again. Please like and subscribe. I'd really, really like uh, to continue to do this type of thing and make the channel grow. This is new to me, so I'm learning as I go along. So please be patient with me. Okay, so let me give you some information on the King's Daughters. As I stated, it was founded in 1886 by Margaret Bottom. She was kind of a local do-gooder, had a lot of Bible studies, married a preacher. In fact, what was crazy was she actually had married her local preacher, her childhood preacher, when she was 12 years old. Mm. It seems like that's a wee bit young, old Margaret. Even back in those days, I was. Well, anyway, she led a good life. She had four sons. Um, she was known for charitable acts. Basically, on this magical date in 1886, she decided to form the sisterhood to the Order of the Brotherhood of St. Andrews, which is a Scottish heritage charitable organization set up originally to take care of Scottish people uh, and Scottish people here in America. Um, Once the King's Daughters, the Order of the Daughter of the Kings, or the King's Daughter, was established, their motto was it was something like you know let nobody do any injury to me nor to the daughters of the kings. Kind of like there was like almost like a threat, and that seemed kind of weird for a motto to me. It seemed kind of like, is that like words to live by? I don't know. It just seemed a little harsh, and Scottish people are passionate people, so I'm not sure they meant to. But it made me start looking into things. I found out that she basically had based her idea about forming the organization on an organization that was already formed um, called Lend a Hand, or LAH. This is also an organization that is actually active today. They do a lot of good things with kids and hospitals and that type of thing as well. Um, at this time, she uh, borrowed their or part of their logo, which is a hand holding kind of a globular Maltese cross, which is an eight-pointed cross. It has inverted V-shaped points on the cross ends, if that makes sense to you. Okay, so Maltese cross becomes important. I did a bit of research on the Maltese cross. Um, I was really looking to see, are these ladies connected somehow to the Freemasons. It looks like they are. So through the Scottish Rite order, basically hospitalers. The word just sounds funny to me. I want to say hospitables, but hospitalers. Oh, I knew I'd get it if I tried hard enough. Hmm. That are known by the Maltese cross, by this Maltese cross. Okay, so I said, Maltese cross. That looks familiar to me, and sure enough, I found no, it's directly related to who? The Knights Templar. Okay, not only that, but there's also crossing of the swords that is also a motto of the St. Andrew's Brotherhood. Okay, so now I'm seeing a link here with these organizations. Um, Basically, again, the motto is look out, not in, look up, not down, look forward, not back, and lend a hand. Words for a reset, it seems to me. Words for a reset, seeming that these organizations are also now taking active roles in orphanages, juvenile facilities, and um, the orphan trains. Uh, Basically, how I came across the King's Daughters was I was doing a little research project on Stonewall Jackson Juvenile Detention Center in Concord, North Carolina. This is a place that's dilapidated as hell. It's had a bad reputation forever. Uh, it's old architecture, and by that I mean the old world architecture. And I became very interested in this and began looking, and I found out that while it is today, even now, open and active as a juvenile um, training school, uh, that it had been a juvenile facility since 1906. In fact, it was the state's first child detention center, and the reason that it was segregated and assigned for juveniles is because prior to that date, it had been an adult male prison. And unfortunately, I guess they didn't have anything to do with the kids, and so they throw young offenders right in there with the grown men. It's a place of unspeakable horrors, and if memories could talk, then I'm sure they'd be just screaming, and probably still are in the wind. It's a sad, sad situation to think of, and it really was kind of dismal in doing the research, and yet still fascinating at the same time to me. Something just told me just look a little bit deeper, and maybe I'll figure something out. Maybe I'll find a link to something. And I did, and I did. It's funny. There's all kinds of things all around us, and I'm eager to look into even more things. But this is where I'm at today, and this is where I am with the story. So um, basically, it was a male, grown men's prison housing children as young as 5 and 6. Now, what these poor babies did to deserve to be thrown into prison, I don't know. All I can think of is at one time there were, and right about that time, there were a whole lot of these asylums going up in these basically empty cities. Asylums and government buildings. But one curious fact about the asylums, a lot of them are also asylums slash orphanages. And I thought to myself, I wonder if this place was such a place. And it took a little digging, and I found out it was originally an orphanage. So it went from being an orphanage, it probably ran low on the kids and had a whole lot of room. Because I'm talking about these. This is a one of those neoclassical, what they call antebellum style buildings, and on 100-acre farm. It's plenty of room, and probably the whole population in North Carolina was probably a couple thousand, and you could probably house like 1,500 right there on that property. So it's just crazy to think of that, and the millions of bricks it took to build a place like that. And why would they build a prison, asylum, or an orphanage like a castle? We always wondered that, and because they wouldn't, it was already there. It was already there, and then it was a sign and a purpose, is what most of us have come to believe. It's just thought, but it's a thought that makes sense. So the story and it goes that uh, you know, and like I was saying, is basically started off as a orphanage. For some reason, there's all these abundant, lots of babies. So you can look up the World Fair that took place in in 1850, and there's tents with babies in incubators, and there's signs, live babies. And these people like nurses, standing pretty kind of scary and American horror ish, uh, you know, with all these babies. And then there's the orphan trains. 500,000 children were just transported across the nation to populate, repopulate, reset, relearn, recover from a catastrophic event that wiped everybody out. We're guessing, but there seems to be a lot of evidence that would point to such an event. So, anyway, the Maltese cross. Again, this symbolizes hospitalers, reminding me of and associated with the Knights Templar. Uh, lo and behold, we're connected now to an order called St. John's, and also Freemason is connected with them. Guess what they are? Hospitalers. Guess why? Because while the Maltese cross, let's say it came out of or was heard of, popularized somewhere, the origins were in the 1100s. It showed up on a French coin in around 1500. Somewhere in that space of time, it also became the symbol for the hospitalers of the Order of St. John, who built a hospital. It was funny. I meant to mention that these were Italian merchants that were of this order, apparently. And the Italian merchants traveled everywhere, of course. They built a hospital in Jerusalem. Here we are, Jerusalem. Now we have the Maltese cross connected with the Knights Templar, with, well, St. John, the Knights Templar. Then we're going to go back to the Lend a Hand organization, It's connected also to St. Andrew, the Brotherhood of the King's Daughters, who have the Maltese cross as their symbol. Okay. So, granted, they were heavy into the hospital work, and it's a good thing they did, I'm sure, quite a bit of good. Margaret Bottoms authored many books, pulled this organization together, and began influencing and began what's called social reform. Here we get into education, educating who? Orphans, children, homeless children, maybe homeless children who ended up in juvenile detention. Here, the King's Daughters are connected to, who were in New York, by the way, connected to this little remote juvenile detention where North Carolina. So how that connection happened, we don't know. I'm assuming that this group in New York just grew like wildfire. And it did, because they also not only adopted the motto and the logo of the Lend a Hand organization, but it also um, uh, enhanced and embraced their philosophy uh, from the Saint Andrew, who brought his brother to Jesus. Bring one, basically, is with you. You're responsible for your face, and you bring one with you. You're responsible for yourself, and you bring one with you. So Margaret set up her organization in tens, groups of 10, not chapters, but tens. Tens beget 10 more. One on one, 10. Now you got 20. And they took it seriously, and they did just that. They hosted events, because this was not a church affiliated organization, though it was charitable. As I stated, they advertised themselves as a third alternative, um, for people who don't like to go to church. So it attracted a lot of people who were philanthropists and had a lot of money, took care of a lot of social situations where they'd have these events. These were salonairs. They'd have these philosophy, poetry, food and drinks, snazzy, I'm sure charcuterie boards were a part of the deal, and everything else just wonderful. Maybe not ice wine, I don't know, but I'm sure these events were spectacular. But one funny thing I found out that these salon heirs did was they like to spark debate. So basically, they ran around and talked a lot of shit just to start a little argument here and there and get people fired up. Funny. that, that was the thing to do, though, at that time. So they had a lot of fun with that. Ate, drank, and made a lot of merry old money. So short. So I said to myself, I wonder about these women now that they're so into this education, educating orphans. Let's begin with the children. Let's get them while they're young and teach them something, how to live. Because apparently people didn't know how to live, how to dress, or if you look at the old pictures, people are just walking around confused. They're sitting on the beach fully dressed. Everybody looking like they're just in their Sunday best, posing. No matter what they're doing, Civil War, they're posing, they're playing cards, they're singing a song. I don't know, they're doing something, but what they're not doing is they're not fighting. Not in any pictures I've ever seen. Maybe a few drawings, but no photographs, and they had cameras. There's a lot of questions that I have, and this just is one little interesting tidbit that led to another, and it made me say, hey, these charitable organizations were also big on setting the standard for social norms and instructing children. Now, I found a book called The Little Wanderer, and for those of you who are interested, look this up. these children who were on the orphan trains were given this little book. Now, as part of the agreement to the family that were hosting these little children, adopting the little children, they promised that these kids would write a letter once a year back to the organization so that they could publish it in books like this one, which is called The Little Wanderer. The kids were given the books. It basically looks like a little hymn book, little leather bound church book. You open it up and there's hymns, little stories. Then here's the little letter. Oh, I love my new life. Everything's peachy and great out here in Oklahoma or something. You know what I mean? It's just not real. It's just not real. I thank you for your time today. I really do. And I hope you found this interesting. I'm going to do some more research and post some more videos. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate you and love you so much. Mwah. Peace out, babes. Take it easy.